When an INFJ stops being emotional, this will happen. People with the INFJ personality type are known for their deep emotional world, incredible empathy, and a natural inclination toward understanding others' feelings. But what happens when an INFJ stops being emotional, when they choose to detach, go cold, or numb their emotions? Today, we'll dive deep into why INFJs might stop engaging emotionally, how it affects their relationships, and what transformations take place in their lives and mindset. This video will explore what causes this shift, what signs to watch for, and the impact on both the INFJ and those around them. Before we delve into what happens when an INFJ stops being emotional, let's first explore the emotional landscape that defines them. INFJs, as the rarest Myers-Briggs personality type, are unique in their ability to feel and understand emotions deeply. Their primary cognitive functions contribute significantly to this emotional depth. Introverted Intuition, me. People with the INFJ personality type use introverted intuition as their dominant function, giving them the ability to perceive complex meanings and insights. Me enables them to look at a person or situation and sense underlying emotions or motivations. This is why INFJs often understand people in ways that others might not. Extroverted Feeling, Fey. Their auxiliary function, extroverted feeling, is what makes INFJs so empathetic. Fey helps them tune into the emotions of others and creates a desire to maintain harmony. It drives them to connect emotionally, understand, and support people in need. However, because they absorb so much of others' emotions, they can often feel overwhelmed. Imagine Sarah, an INFJ, who finds herself constantly attuned to her friend's problems. Her friend Emma is going through a tough breakup, and Sarah absorbs Emma's pain, offering support and empathy. But as Sarah continues to carry the emotional weight of her friends, she starts feeling drained, struggling to balance her own needs with those of others. There are several reasons why an INFJ might reach a point where they stop being emotional or actively suppress their emotions. Here are some of the main factors that contribute to this shift. Emotional burnout. INFJs tend to take on the emotional burdens of others, which can lead to emotional exhaustion or burnout. When they constantly care for others without taking time to process their own feelings, they might reach a breaking point and decide to shut off their emotions to protect themselves. Sarah, for example, has spent months supporting Emma and other friends. She's become a constant listener, but after a while, she starts feeling resentful and worn out. The constant emotional engagement becomes too much, and Sarah decides she can't keep absorbing everyone else's pain without impacting her own well-being. Feeling taken for granted. INFJs often feel undervalued when their emotional support goes unappreciated. They are natural givers, but when people start to take their kindness for granted, INFJs can become disillusioned and decide it's time to stop investing emotionally. Sarah notices that her friends only reach out when they need help and rarely check in to see how she's doing. This realization hurts, making her feel like her efforts are not reciprocated. Over time, she begins to emotionally distance herself, feeling that she's giving too much without receiving any emotional support in return. Desire for self-protection. INFJs are highly sensitive, and when they face repeated emotional pain, they may decide to detach as a form of self-protection. For an INFJ, protecting themselves from emotional harm can mean putting up walls and not allowing themselves to feel as deeply. After several failed relationships where she felt deeply hurt, Sarah decides that it's safer to avoid forming emotional attachments. She begins to adopt a more rational approach to interactions, reminding herself to stay detached and avoid getting too close to others. Experiencing a door slam moment. INFJs are known for their infamous door slam, a point where they cut someone out completely when they feel hurt, betrayed, or deeply disrespected. When an INFJ reaches this stage, it often leads to them detaching emotionally, not only from the person involved but from relationships in general. After Emma betrays Sarah's trust by gossiping about her, Sarah decides that she can no longer have Emma in her life. She distances herself from Emma but also from other friends, choosing not to be as emotionally available as she once was. If you're close to an INFJ, you may notice signs when they stop being emotional or become more detached. Here are some indicators that an INFJ is choosing to withdraw emotionally. Becoming more logical and rational. When INFJs shut down their emotions, they start relying more on logic and objectivity. Rather than focusing on how they feel, they begin making decisions based on practicality. Sarah, who once made choices based on her deep feelings and intuitions, now decides to take a job opportunity in a new city without overthinking the emotional aspects of the move. Her friends are surprised, as she had always preferred stability and continuity, but she explains it as the most rational decision. Avoiding deep conversations. INFJs who detach emotionally might avoid the deep, meaningful conversations they once thrived on. They may stick to surface-level topics, especially with people they've distanced themselves from emotionally. When Sarah meets up with her friends, she no longer initiates heartfelt conversations or asks deep questions about their lives. She keeps the conversation light, discussing things like work, movies, or the weather, avoiding anything that might pull her back into an emotional space. Using humor or sarcasm as a defense mechanism. INFJs may resort to humor or sarcasm to keep things light and avoid emotional topics. This approach helps them maintain distance and avoid getting drawn into others' emotional needs. Sarah starts using humor to deflect questions about her personal life. When a friend asks her about her recent breakup, she jokes, "I'm taking a break from relationships. Who needs emotions, right?" Her friends notice the shift, sensing she's holding back but unsure how to approach her. Spending more time alone. INFJs naturally need time alone, but when they become emotionally detached, they may isolate themselves even more. They may feel that solitude is the best way to avoid emotional overwhelm. Sarah used to enjoy meeting her friends for weekly dinners, but now she prefers staying in and reading or working on solo projects. She finds comfort in her own space, where she doesn't have to worry about anyone else's emotions. When an INFJ detaches emotionally, it often affects their relationships. People around them may notice a distinct shift and feel confused, hurt, or even abandoned. Confusion among friends and family. INFJs are often the emotional anchors in their relationships. When they withdraw, those close to them may feel unsettled or even guilty, wondering if they did something wrong. Sarah's close friend, Alex, notices that Sarah no longer shares her feelings or checks in as frequently. Alex worries he did something to upset her but is met with a casual, "I'm just focusing on myself right now." This leaves Alex feeling confused, unsure if he should reach out or give her space. Distance and potential misunderstandings. Others may misinterpret the INFJ's detachment as a lack of caring, creating misunderstandings and friction in relationships. Sarah's family notices she's no longer as emotionally available. Her sister accuses her of being cold, leading to tension. Sarah, who doesn't want to explain her decision to detach, simply brushes it off, deepening the rift between them. New boundaries in relationships. An INFJ who has detached emotionally may set firmer boundaries, protecting themselves by limiting how much they engage in emotionally charged situations. When Sarah's friend Emma calls her in distress, Sarah listens but keeps her responses minimal, suggesting that Emma see a therapist. Previously, she would have listened for hours and offered emotional support, but now she's setting limits on how much she gives emotionally. While emotional detachment can be challenging, it can also lead to positive changes for an INFJ. By choosing to detach, INFJs can gain greater clarity, focus, and balance in their lives. Greater self-care and inner balance. Emotional detachment allows INFJs to focus on self-care without feeling guilty. They learn to set boundaries that support their mental health. Sarah realizes that her detachment has allowed her to engage in activities she loves, like painting and journaling. She starts to feel more balanced and at peace, finding joy in solitude. Increased productivity and focus. INFJs often have ambitious goals but may put them on hold to help others. Emotional detachment can free them to focus on personal projects and passions. Sarah finally begins writing her book, a goal she had set aside for years. Without the constant emotional drain, she channels her creativity into her writing, finding fulfillment in this new focus. For INFJs who have detached emotionally, the journey back to emotional engagement can be a positive one if done mindfully. Practicing emotional boundaries. Learning to set healthy boundaries without shutting down completely can help INFJs maintain emotional balance. Communicating their needs clearly. INFJs can practice open communication, letting people know when they need space or when they're feeling overwhelmed. When an INFJ stops being emotional, they embark on a transformative journey, one that can ultimately lead to greater self-understanding and balance. By setting boundaries, taking time for self-care, and gradually reintegrating emotions in a healthy way, INFJs can maintain their unique sensitivity without losing themselves in the process.